Welcome to the Resilient Artist Podcast, your go-to space for wellness and success strategies tailored for musicians. Join us each week as we explore tips, tools, and stories to help you thrive in your music career while staying balanced and inspired. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Resilient Artist Podcast, where we talk about wellness and success strategies for musicians. I'm one of your hosts, Crystal McGrath.
And I'm Rachel. Today we're diving into a topic that gets a lot of buzz in the creative circles: manifestation and the law of attraction. Does it actually work for musicians? Or is it just a mindset shift? We're going to unpack it all today.
Yeah, whether you're skeptical or whether you swear by it, in this episode, it's all about how you can use your intention, your mindset, and your action to move your music career forward.
So let's start with the basics. So I'm sure many of us have heard about the law of attraction, right? We've read the books, we've looked at all the stuff, but it's the idea that what you focus on is what you attract. The energy that you put out, whether positive or negative, shapes what you bring into your life. Now, I was actually taught years ago, just kind of going off on a tangent here, that when you do that and you put a negative or positive thought in, it's like sending a order into the universe. And it's like you're going to order, and it doesn't care what you order. It's like when you put your order in online in Amazon or whatever, and then you hit send. It's not going to say, "Are you sure that's what you want?" It's just going to collect your order and be done with it. So it's really important for us to talk about and think about what we're putting out there. So there is actually science behind this. There has been a lot of studies. So mindset, the reticular activating system, or the RAS, and how focus influences opportunities of what you're getting back. The difference between manifesting and taking action is not just about wishing, because we can't just sit there and wish things to happen. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's just really about aligning your actions with your vision, because again, it would be so great for us just be able to sit around and will things to happen. But
Totally.
why belief and confidence in yourself change the way you show up in the music industry? So we'll talk a little bit about that today and hopefully give you a little bit of a clearer perspective on the law of attraction and how you can use it to gain more success in your music career.
Totally. And if you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will. That's a huge thing as well. It's having that confidence. Confidence is a practice skill. I think we've talked about that in previous episodes, but it's so important to believe in you first and foremost before anything else. I think it's really easy to look at somebody else and be like, oh, I wish I was doing what they're doing, or I wish I was doing what that person's doing. Oh, they're so confident. They're so great. I wish I could be a little more like that. And just really shifting that mindset and looking within and being like, I'm so proud of myself for showing up and doing this. I'm proud of myself for doing this. Having that gratitude list really helps practice that skill set of confidence when you look at what is it that you're building in your life and just noticing and having that appreciation for yourself first.
For sure. And I know, Crystal, you work with the law of attraction a
Yeah.
lot.
Yes.
So have you ever had a moment, or can you share maybe a moment where something you
Yeah.
actually really focused on actually came true?
Yeah, I've had so many different things happen, but the most recent one was just last week. And there was a client I really wanted to work with. And so instead of just being like, oh, I hope that they pick me to work with them and just like wishing that to happen, I actually went to my to-do list and I wrote down sign contract with this company, make bill invoice this company, start working on marketing plan for X company. And this was like on my to-do list, and it wasn't physically happening yet, but I just believed that it would. And I put it down and I put my order into the universe and said, this is what I need. And yeah, sure enough, they became a client and I got to check those items off my to-do list. So that's another little tool trick that you can use too, is if you want something, write it down like it's already happening, not like you want it to happen, like it's happening now.
Oh, 100%. That's why if you actually read the Law of Attraction book, there's so many different ones out there.
Yeah.
I should have actually brought it. I have it over in the bookshelf there. But he talks a lot about that, is that write it down, right?
Yeah.
Write those lists and really focus and read them every single day and just really get the feelings as if those things are already in your life. What would it feel like to have those things and to really embrace those feelings?
Yes. Yeah. And you can do that with money too, right? Like you can, instead of thinking like, oh, I wish I had, $10,000 in my bank account, write down, make a fake bank account statement and put $10,000 and look at that every day and feel it. Once you're physically feeling that emotion of having $10,000 just sitting in your bank account or whatever number that is. I mean, why limit it 10? Like say 100,000, but whatever that number is for you, start to feel like what it would feel like to have that. Live like you have that now. And then it makes it so much easier for it to show up.
Well, I remember watching a story. Jim Carrey said that when he was first starting his
Yeah.
career, he put a check in his wallet or put it up on his wall or something and made it out to $1 million.
Yeah.
And he always looked at that and realized that, hey, that, and then soon enough, it happened. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what he did when he embraced his career.
Totally. I
So,
love
how do
that.
we take this concept and actually apply it to musicians? Well, first of all, if
Mm.
you want more information on this, I would highly recommend reading the books. There's a lot of different law of attraction books out there that are very, very, really great, right? But it's really important to number one, as we've kind of already talked about a little bit, and if you actually have read The Resilient Artist, we talk about this a lot, is clarity is key. You've got to define your goals. You really have to be clear on what is it that you want. Do you want to land a sync deal? Is that, do you want to sell your music to the movies or to a television show? Do you want to get on a specific Spotify playlist? Do you want to book a festival with a certain band? Do you want to get on a special tour with a band that you've always wanted to work with? So get really clear on what it is that you are wanting to accomplish. Because if it's not clear, it can't come to you, right? And then visualize it, as we were just talking about. Really visualize that success and then affirm it into existence. So speak your success into existence, into coming true. Then you've got your daily practices. So gratitude, a huge thing. I know for me, I focus on gratitude daily because it is so important to be grateful for the things that we already have in our life so that we can move forward into attracting more from a place of joy and gratitude. And then scripting and setting intentions, that you are going to do this. You are going to align your goals with your actions. So, energy and mindset, just kind of that actions. Act as if success is already happening. Dress the part. What do they have? They said in the past, dress for the job that you want. So, if
Yeah.
you're right. So, if you're dressing the part, if you feel the part, you've got these things on your wall or whatever it is, it's going to happen.
Totally. And even just speaking of like dressing the part, if you work at home, which a lot of musicians do, um, maybe don't show up every day in your sweatpants or your pajamas, right? Get dressed, feel good. I know my workload changes, like my productivity changes when I get dressed. When I do my hair, when I put some makeup on, put some jewelry on, whatever makes me feel good that day. Maybe that day is like, oh, I just need some red power lips today. Like, putting red lipstick on, just sitting at my computer, it just makes me feel a little bit more in charge. Little things like that can make a really big difference in your productivity.
Oh.
As mentioned before, I love writing things down as if they're already happening. So, another tool you can use is journaling. You can journal about touring. Just say you really want to go on a tour. Instead of writing down on your wish list, I want to tour this year, change that and start saying, I just got back from the most amazing tour. It was so successful, sold out rooms. It was so amazing. I met so many new fans and connections, and write about it like it already happened. Notice how that feels again in your body. It's all about the physical feeling, the emotional feeling, the mindset, right? So journaling and things like that out is super, super helpful.
Absolutely. And if there's somebody listening right now, Crystal, and they want to start manifesting this sort of success, let's say
Yeah.
going on that amazing tour,
Yeah.
besides journaling, what else do you think they should do?
Yeah, totally. Because it's not just like, I'm going to write it down like it happened and it happens. It's not how it works. You write it down so you can feel what that would feel like to empower you to take action to make it happen. So, yes, write that down in your journal. I just got back from the most amazing tour. Okay, how are you going to make a tour happen? Do you have to meet with a booking agent? Maybe that's not where you're at right now. Maybe you've never toured before, you've never done anything before. So you start by making phone calls, figure out where you want to go on your tour. One tour I planned, we went across Canada and I was like, how can I tour to all these cities and think outside the box so I have something to anchor me in every single place? And so I ended up calling Indigo Books and I asked them, hey, can I come into your stores in I had this list of cities, so I made a list of places I wanted to go. And I said, can I come into your store and play my music here? And so once I had those dates booked, then that gave me inspiration. I was like, cool, okay, I got places to play. Now how can I get more? So we'd play at Indigo Books in the daytime and then at nighttime. we would play in a pub or a bar in that same city. But it was all about, make the phone call, get uncomfortable. At first, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, do you think Indigo Books would like want to team up with me? Um, yeah, and it's amazing. And then a partnership stemmed from there with Indigo. I ended up teaming up with them with my coaching business and offering services through their company and all sorts of other things. So you never know what can come from one phone call or one opportunity. So that is something I highly recommend. Just think outside the box if you're stuck or having challenges like, oh, I don't know where to play or what to do. Try to get creative so you're doing something a little bit different than the next person so that you kind of stand out just a little bit.
Well,
That's important.
and that's just it, right? This is the part that people sometimes miss is that manifestation isn't magic. I mean,
No,
it is to a certain extent, but you do have to take action,
yes.
right? So instead of kind of sitting there, oh, I wish or whatever, you thought, okay, what is something that I could do? And
Yeah.
you were open to that new opportunity, right?
Yes,
Right? And that was not something that maybe somebody would have thought of, but you were open to that. And then it led to other opportunities, right?
exactly.
I always say that, say yes to networking and putting yourself in the right rooms, and because it's always like, okay, I might not feel like I really want to go to this one, or I might feel like maybe it's not completely relevant, but I
Yeah.
always like to go to those things and go, well, I never know who I meet,
You never
right?
know.
Right? You just never know who you happen to be standing beside or
Totally.
who
And that's another thing that happened on that Indigo book thing. This was many years ago, but there's a show in Quebec called La Voix, and it's The Voice, but in Canada, in Quebec only. Anyways, the talent scout for that show ended up being in Indigo Books that day and saw me perform and was like, come on to the show. Anyways, I ended up going on the show, but I don't speak French and it's a completely French show, like zero English. So that didn't work, but you just never know who you're going to meet and what you're going to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's why it's also important that when you do these things, you show up as your
Mhm.
future self, right? You want to show up in that space of confidence because that's what also attracts success, right? If
Yeah.
you were in that negative headspace sitting in indigo, some of those opportunities wouldn't have come to you,
Totally.
right? And then take inspired action. You got to follow through on leads. When you've met someone, reach out and just say, "Hey, great to meet you. Is there an opportunity here?" Submit your music to the things that you never even thought. It's kind of like sending a resume to a company and like, oh, I don't know if I really have the qualifications for this. Send it in anyway, because you never know, right? Submit your music. You just never know who happens to stumble across it. And you got to put in the work. Actually, just another kind of quick sideline is that I'm a big fan of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter series. Anyways, big nerd for that. And, it was neat because the first movie apparently wouldn't have even been made. I heard the story that the director's daughter, who at the time was 12, said, Daddy, you got to make this movie and you have to make it exactly like the book. And so apparently, here's this 12-year-old girl who's a super fan of Harry Potter who really kind of helped spark that entire project. And so again, you just never know who sees your work, who's in the room, who happens to see you in that space.
Totally. Totally. And again, it just circles back. It's not about wishing, it's about aligning your thoughts, your beliefs, and taking action. Action is the biggest part in manifestation. If you just say, I want this and expect it to show up for you, it will not show up for you. I promise you, that is one thing I can guarantee you will not show up for you. If you take action, 90% it will in some form or another, right?
Yeah, and just like again on a little aside, if you want to practice this, it just reminds me of um The Secret, right?
Yes.
I can't who's the author of that? Do you remember who the author of that is?
Oh, I know, but as no,
I know.
I'm
Anyway, so
not
most
going
of
to
us
say
have
it
heard
now
of the
because
most of us heard of The Secret, but she's also written another book called The Magic. And what I liked about The Magic was that it was kind of about practicing. And so she would say, how she would practice the law of attraction, of which she called the magic. She would just start thinking about something. Let's say it was an orchid, right? I'm just, I love orchids, whatever. I love these flowers. And then she said, pay attention to where they show up. And
yeah,
she said, before you know it, you start to see orchids everywhere. Right. And so if you've kind of ever noticed that, like sometimes I know I've noticed that, like when I've bought in a new car before, all of a sudden everybody's driving the same car. Or it's
totally.
like, again, as soon as you put your focus on something, it will start to show up. So practice that. Start to put your attention on, something simple and just notice how quickly and how it shows up in your world.
Yeah, it's funny. You just never know. Here's another side story. I was at teaching a yoga class or it was a workshop, sound bowl workshop. And before the workshop, my car battery just conked out, which was so strange. It wasn't even cold. It just died. Anyways, and then after the class, I was saying, oh, well, I really want a white Mercedes SUV. Like that's like what I want right now is that, or that's what I'm manifesting, right? That's what I want. That's what I desire, all the things. Anyway, so I was telling people about this. I'm like, well, maybe it's time. Anyways, we go around looking for somebody to boost my car. And the one person that was able to come boost my car, we didn't see their car at first. They had to go get their car, but we asked them and they said yes. And they pull up in a white Mercedes SUV. And I was like, it's a sign.
That
My
was
car,
a sign. I love
I don't
it.
need it today, but it's coming in the future.
That's very cool. I love it
Yeah.
when stuff like that happens.
Me too. Me too.
So
Things like
fun.
that happen all the time. Just
Hmm.
be open to it happening, right? Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on the Resilient Artist Podcast. We love chatting manifestation. If you have questions, please feel free to DM us. Make sure you follow us on social media, all the things. Join our website, join our collective on Facebook. We can't wait to connect with you further.
And if you want to dive deeper into building a resilient mindset as an artist, make sure you grab your copy of The Resilient Artist. It's packed with strategies to help you stay grounded and thrive in your music career. So until next time, keep believing in yourself and taking bold steps towards your dreams.
Thanks for tuning in to the Resilient Artist Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, like, and share this podcast with your fellow musicians. Your support helps us grow and reach more artists just like you. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a review to let us know what you think. Ready to take your wellness journey to the next level? Join the Artist Wellness Collective at www.artistwellnesscollective.com for more resources, community, and support designed to help musicians thrive. Until next time, keep creating and living your best artistic life.